Welcome to Fitch Painting and Repairs Garage. Today's project will give you a little update on what we've been doing. Some information on the last couple videos that we've posted. This is one of the barn finds that I've recently acquired. This one is titled as a 1963 Triumph 650. It is set up kind of in the Bonneville configuration, but it's more of a custom bobber setup. The engine on this particular machine is not a matching number to the frame. It's a 1966, but it is a TR6SS model. And it's set up with a 2-carb setup. It's got the original AML carb setup on it. And this bike, I didn't really have to do a whole lot to it. Now, I did do a good inspection, looking over everything on the bike, making sure everything was secure and everything was put together properly. But I didn't do any repair work other than the gas tank replacement. The original gas tank, which I've got sitting up there on the shelf, is painted in this teal color matching the fenders. It's a plastic reproduction type tank. It was cracked on the bottom and leaking fuel. I had suspected that there was a simple reason why this machine had been parked, and if you see all the fuel, I wiped some of this stuff up a little bit. It was quite a bit worse, and there was a lot of dirt and a little bit of residual, gas and oil and stuff like that all over the bike. And so up on the center tunnel of the that tank's flat on the bottom, it's cracked. So I'm going to see about possibly repairing it and seeing if I can repair that and fix the crack, but who knows. I also had to tighten up the exhaust pipe on one side, which is now again loose. And I took this tank, which was sitting on the other bike that I had picked up in the process, flushed it out and put it on this, because on the other one the coffin tank is supposed to go on that, and we're going to put that back on there. It's in the process of being cleaned out, and the way I flush them out, the surface corrosion, I take vinegar and I pour it down in it, and then I got this kind of material, which is steel, and put down in it, and some nuts, and just slosh the hell out of it. Shake it around, shake it, and knock it all down loose, drain out all the fluid, remove all the material you put in, and then I capture that fluid, filter it through several filters. I use coffee filters and a paint filter and a funnel, and I filter it and then reuse it, and then reuse it, and then reuse it, and filter it. And then eventually you take some fresh vinegar, pour in it, rinse it around, clean it all out, and then empty all that stuff out of it, and do the same process, filter and capture it, and reuse it. So I got it all cleaned out. I installed a couple new sections of fuel line because the other ones were so hard I couldn't even hardly bend them, and proceeded to try to kickstart this bike. And you guys saw the video, and yeah, I need to learn the procedure and method and kick a little harder and straighter through. And I've had somebody tell me kick like a girl, which means stand on the side of the bike and use your left foot to kick it. So we'll try all the different variations of it. A lot of the problem is she's up on the lift and the front end is real spongy on it, so she keeps breaking loose from the tie downs. And to secure it properly, I would have to really ratchet it down tight, and I would finish blowing out the rest of them seals, and I don't want to damage anything in the front end. So I eventually got it off the lift onto the side stand, and got it kicked over and running. But she will not fire unless I spray the carbs with starting fluid. Now, once I sprayed the carbs with starting fluid, I was able to maintain it running. I adjusted the idle and idled it up really high, but she was surging and idling really, really rough. And eventually she smoothed out some, and I dialed back the idle on it a little bit and got her to idle. And I was able to ride it, successfully around the neighborhood and shift it through all the 4 gears. And man, that right side shift is hard to get used to because I'm used to using both brakes. So every time I come up to the stop sign, I was downshifting, going, "Why isn't the bike stopping?" Kind of feeling, and then dawning on you, "Oh yeah, left side brake." So yeah, you got to hit the brake on the left side for the rear wheel. Then the front brake's still on the right side handlebar, and clutch is on the left. But you got the bike running. So what I'm suspecting is you have not done anything other than inspection. And I straightened out the rear fender, and I tightened the exhaust pipes. I replaced the fuel line, pulled the timing cover off and took a look inside there. That's about it. And so, just tightened a couple bolts here and there as I found them loose. Installed this battery. Now, the battery I'm using is out of a Razor scooter. It's a 12 volt, 7 amp battery with a inline fuse setup on it, and this one's wired to positive ground. And I believe she's got the two 6-volt coils wired in series. I have not pulled the plugs. I have not done anything. And so we did have a little bit of smoking on it, but suspecting that this machine, FPR, Fitch Painting Repair, if you were wondering, July 2014 was the date on that. The last registration, though, was in 21, but I'm kind of suspecting that the bike's been sitting for quite some time, just based on the grime and the grit that's on the bike. And looking at it really, really closely, the wheels are really clean. Them spokes, there's not a whole lot of nothing on them. Just a little bit of wear and some dirt. Everything on this machine will polish out. Now, that is the only heavy corrosion I've seen on the bike, really. A little bit on the exhaust, but I've got a brand new set for this machine. Now, she did leak some oil. Push rod tubes are leaking. But she really hasn't run in a long time. So what we're going to do now is, I got a little bit of seepage on my petcocks. So I need to clean all this stuff. I'm going to pull it all apart, clean it, pipe thread it, put the pipe tape on it, and seal it all up. And I'm going to go through these carburetors. And I got a little bit of seepage, just seeing a little bit of seepage on the float bowl. So we're going to do that honing thing, with the lapping compound and a piece of glass. And, we'll try to fix that. Now that one over there looks even worse. Tickling them. Let's see here. I got the fuel shut off. So we're going to drain them, pull them apart, because I suspect the idle circuit's clogged. And that's why I had to idle her up. And she won't start without squirting the carbs. So we're going to go through that, clean them carbs out, because I feel like they're probably just all gummed up inside, based big time on when I pulled the fuel lines and the crystallization deposits that came out of the hoses. So, but the clutch works. I didn't really accelerate hard, but I did shift through all 4 gears. And we're going to clean them carbs, pull the spark plugs. We're going to pull this gas tank back off and flush it out one more time. Change the filters and everything inside. One of them was slightly damaged, the screen on it. It's got the filters, the inside tank filters. And then from what I understand, there's also a filter in the carburetor setup. I've never touched one of these before. This is my first time working on a British motorcycle. I've never had my hands on one before. We've got definitely some oil leak issues on it, but she's a runner, man. She sounds great. You know, the engine sounds pretty clean. Might end up having to go through and dial in the points and clean them. I'm very surprised she fired and ran as good as she did for sitting for so long, but them contacts look very clean. I did rotate the engine and look in there, make sure that the points were opening and closing, and you know there wasn't anything. And then when I had fired this up, I had that cover off, and I was watching the spark on both of the coils, and it was a good, clean, hard spark on each one of them. You know, so I'll pull the spark plugs, service them, clean them, maybe replace them, go through all the wire connections, you know, and just pull them apart, clean them, and make sure. Yeah, but this machine was parked in a running condition. Just had a broken fuel tank. So I suspect that that fuel tank originally was on that frame when this bike was bought. I don't know if this is a project build or whatever it is. Obviously the engine has been redone. And oh yeah, here's a bit of information. You know, somebody chime in and inform me on this. You see what's missing? No timing plug. There's supposed to be a bolt right there that you remove to be able to put the pin in to find the top dead center on the crankshaft, on the flywheels, to do the timing. Otherwise, you got to use this degree wheel thing, and it's more of a big pain in the butt, you know, and all that. And I guess you got to use that anyways. So, but finding top dead center, hopefully I've got good marks. The machine seems to be taken care of, you know, whatnot. So, but you got to pull this outer primary cover off, get inside there and look at the marks on the rotor, stator, and all that. That should tell you, help you time it. But, you know, the way that she fired up like she did, you know, I think it's just all related to fuel problems, fuel delivery issues, and getting the grounds connected. I did not put the charger on the battery, the tester on the battery while she was running, but it went up in voltage after, you know, I'd run it and checked the battery a little bit later on. The voltage was a little higher on the battery than it was when I started, so I'm thinking that the charging system probably is working. Headlights work, taillights work, brake lights work, but this switch sticks really bad and the brake light sticks on. So you got to watch that. I thought I left the key on or the lights on. But you pull it back, wiggle it a little bit, and it'll. So we got to clean it. We got to adjust the position for the spring. But these exhaust pipes don't have any lower brackets or mounts, and they're really loose. And they're moving around, and the brake pedal's hitting this, so you can't push down on the brake all the way without moving the pipe, and moving the pipe causes the brake connection up here on the exhaust, which causes it to run super lean. And if she's already having problems with the circuit being lean and that's happening, she was probably running super lean. But she did puff some oil. So we'll have to go through. I'm suspecting a lot of that's just, you know, oil. It did puke a little bit of oil out, but not much out the crankcase ventilation. Oil pump is pumping quite strong. She's got a good strong pump spray inside the tank. Tachometer wasn't working. I wasn't registering anything on the tachometer. That's another problem over here. This tachometer cable is coming down and contacting that exhaust pipe, and it's melted. It was like that when I got it. So that's, you know, where we're at. You know, we're going to go through it. It's got some really old tires. And check this out. As I was looking, made in England. Now, I'm not 100% certain on this, but I was trying to figure out the code on these tires. It says Avon Road Runner. Got good tread on them, but they're dry rotted. And that number, if anybody out there knows, is this March of 71? Is that the date on it? Excuse me. I'm not really sure. I don't see, the dating like what we have here, but these tires were made in England. And oh yeah, this particular bike, from what I understand, it was made for use in England. So this was not an American bike, so this was brought over. Somebody brought this bike over. I don't know if it was a project bike. It started off as a bare bones frame or whatever it was, but it's fairly well put together. The attention to detail, it's a mechanic's bike. It's not a showroom bike or anything like that, but it was taken care of. So, and we'll show you. Eventually, we got to get into this one. And this one's a 67 custom reconstruction frame. The frame is a total custom frame. It's got the different carburetors on it. So, running the filters on it. And the problem, all the electricals cut, disconnected. Missing tachometer, speedometer. I don't have headlight controls. And the electronics down here, missing the panel. She's a little rusty inside there, but I'm seeing a modern coil. I do see that condenser sitting there. Looks like it's got a modern rectifier down there. So we're gonna have to figure this bike out. So I am looking at the charging coming off. She's got 3 wires. So not really certain about that one. And we're gonna put that coffin tank back on this because I believe that's what was originally on it. And so there's another look at that rear end on this bike. Weird shocks that go on it. So, and eventually this one will go on a lift, and we're going to try to get that motor running as well. So, but right now the focus is on this one. We're going to go through and clean the carburetor, clean the plugs, change the oil, change the exhaust pipes, put those other exhaust on it, and tidy it and straighten it. I believe the rear swing arm section, which I was looking pretty closely at this thing, and the entire rear end of this bike bolts on. It's a bolt-on rear section. And I'm suspecting, what got me looking at it real close was thinking that the swing arm bushings are bad or loose or whatever, because the rear wheel alignment is a little off. And I got it up in the air right now, and if you can kind of see, you might not be able to because of the camera. So, but the wheel is real close to that guard, and she's a little wobbly, and so I'm thinking maybe possibly the rear swing arm is. And what got me looking was because the rear fender here wasn't lined up on this. It was way out, and it looked like the wheel was leaning over a little bit like that. And so the adjustment was off here. The alignment, the wheel wasn't straight. So, and I straightened it and adjusted it so that it was perfect. But then the wheel was kind of rubbing. So we're going to have to pull the rear wheel, check that the bushings are correct in it, make sure the wheel bearing and the offset end play and all that stuff is correct. I'm suspecting that's probably the problem, but she rolled down the road just fine. So you see how I got a lot more clearance over here, but the fender's like bang. So I'm thinking, just it's a little wonky, so whoever changed the engine in it, maybe they didn't get it all properly aligned. So we're going to go through it. We'll check it. We're going to go through and do a lot of, inspections and cleaning and all that stuff and get the bike ready. And then who knows what we're going to do with it. So stay tuned.